So in this video, I'm going to show you how to give your bicycle a bird bath. Now, if you're washing your bike by dousing it in water and soapy water and using brushes and things, that's a great way to wash your bike. The only concern is you don't want to get water inside or even close to the bearings. So a lot of times when you soak the bike full of water, what ends up happening is sometimes water will seep into the bearings over time. So in addition to that, it takes a lot of work in terms of cleanup. If you live in an apartment or anything and you don't have access to a hose or places where you can wash your bike, a bird bath is a great way to clean your bike. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So you try to get in all the places where sand and dirt will kick up and get into the bearings. So right here, again, I'm going to clean these brake pads really thoroughly because that's where it'll prevent it wearing out your rims. And then I'm going to get all nice in there. Nothing more fun than your bike being cleaned. There we go. And then to get the soap off, I am going to just do a regular towel and get all the soap off, soapy water off here, like so. Make sure everything's dry. Okay. And that is for the majority of the frame and everything. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the wheels. Some more soapy water. And what I'm going to do is get inside the hubs there. Get the spokes. Now what I'm going to do when I'm doing this to the spokes is I'm actually going to just squeeze them together as I'm cleaning them. And the reason I'm doing that is to just make sure there's no abnormal tension on the spokes, because you don't want, and it's just a quick scan. It's not the most thorough way to do it, but it will help you just inspect your bike and make sure that it's safe. Then I'm going to start right where the valve comes out and just go and clean the rims like this. Now, there's an important spot that you want to clean, and that is right along the brake surface. So, just a little bit more soap. Don't get too much, and you're just going to go across, just like this. Any little sand particles you get off there so it's nice and clean. Now the important part is I'm going to dry it off, get the soap off the spokes. And the nice thing about doing a bird bath is you're not soaking the entire bike, and so very little water is getting inside the bearings. And that's the advantage of just doing it this way. Now the other thing before I put this wheel down is I do this every once in a while, is you want to look at the tire and make sure two things. The first is you want to make sure that there's nothing in there like a little piece of metal that's starting to embed inside the tire, because there's a couple different types of flats. The ones that can be prevented are the ones where a little piece of metal or thorn will get in there, and as you ride it starts to find its way in there, and then all of a sudden you're far away from home and that thorn embedded in there. And so right now I'm inspecting it for that. I don't see anything in the tire. The last thing is these gator skins. I'm really a fan of these gator skins. If you want to get some gator skins on Amazon, I'll just put a link down below. You can get some gator skins. These are great tires. One of the features of these tires, and let me see if I can find it, is they have these little circular things right in the tire. And on the sidewall it says TWI, tire wear indicator. And so when the tires, how do you know when you need to replace the tires? there's an indicator right there. And so this tire is fine because I can still see that hole. So this wheel is clean. Now let's clean this one. So again, I'm going to get into the hub, clean out that hub just so it looks good, get rid of the sand. Okay. And then as I'm cleaning the spokes, I'm just going to get a feel for if there's any type of one loose spoke, just a general scan, nothing there. Get some more water on it. And then go across, get the sand off the sidewall. Get all that dirt out of there. And now, I'm going to find the valve so I know where to start, and then clean the top of the wheel. Now for the cog wheel right there, a lot of stuff gets in there. So I'm going to get a little bit of soap, not a lot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just scrub it. And you know how when you go to the dentist and they always ask you, are you using a soft bristle toothbrush? And you always say to them, well, of course, that's what you gave me last time. And you always wonder, why do they, number one, why do they ask that? And who the heck is using a hard toothbrush? And you think to yourself, if all the dentists want you to use soft bristle toothbrushes, why do they even sell hard toothbrushes? And the answer is, it's to get dirt out of your sprockets. So these are very good. So get yourself a rough toothbrush, and you'll probably be the only one that ever buys one. If you know why they sell hard toothbrushes, then let me know in the comment section down below, because I personally don't know. I've actually asked my dentist, and they told me that some people like them. And I thought, well, that's not the greatest answer. All right, so now let's dry it off. Dry everything off here. So here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it up against the table here, and I'm going to clean in between the cogs. So this is just like dental floss for the teeth of the rear sprockets. Get a different angle.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking for it.
Just to get variety. Okay, nice and clean. So now I'm going to again inspect the tire, And so what I'm looking for is any type of metal or anything that's inside starting to embed in the tire right there. And this is my back tire. Now right there, there's kind of a deep old cut. Right there is kind of a cut that's starting to go through pretty good. And you see that circle there, that is not very much of a circle. And there's the faint circle right there. And that is what it says there, TWI, the tire wear indicator. So this tire is starting to get extremely close to being worn out. And so that's why I have this handy. Always buy 3 tires, because you'll put 2 on and the back tire will usually wear out quicker. So I think I'm going to replace this tire. And then also something I noticed right in there, there is a piece of metal. This tire has not failed me, but right there's a piece of metal that's starting to come out, get in there. And as time goes on, if you keep wearing it down, the cycling keeps pushing it in there until eventually you can get a slow leak. So I'm going to replace that tire, and right there's a big cut right there too. So this tire, I think, is going to be replaced. So now the last piece I'm going to clean is the actual chain and the chain ring, because that's where most of the grease and disgusting stuff happens. So I usually clean the rest of the bike first, so this can be reserved for that. I'm just going to put it on top of the chain ring here. So I'm just going to get all the dirt off here, off the chain, and then squeeze here and get it nice and clean. And then I'm going to clean the crank. Now the derailleur right in between here can collect a lot of dirt and things like that, so you want to clean inside there, because as you change the chain rings when you're riding, if it starts to grind against something that's already dirty, then it starts to attract dirt. And then I'm going to clean my derailleur, the rear derailleur here. And then these jockey wheels here, I'm just going to clean those, because those can collect a lot of dirt and sand. They don't have bearings, but they do accumulate a lot of junk. Okay, so now I'm going to dry the chain, because you don't want a wet chain. So yesterday we rode about 50 miles in the kind of rain and mist and near the beach, and that's the amount of junk that's left on there. So this is what I like to personally use. I use squirt wax. It's a wax based rather than oil, and so water and oil don't mix, but water and wax don't mix even better. So I'm going to show you how I apply this to the chain. And what I'm going to do first is find the main link. So right there is what's called the master link. This is the place where the chain actually forms together. So what I do is, you want to get the wax kind of right on the circle part of the chain, just like that. It doesn't need to go on the side or anywhere else. And so what we want that wax to do is to seep into the rollers and to get in there, and that will repel water and dirt and all the different things. So we're just going to put it on what are called the rollers, which is the circular part of the chain. Get a little bit in there, and this will make the chain just purr like a kitten, as they say. It'll make it real smooth, and you will actually feel a difference when you ride compared to a dirty chain, obviously, and even an oil-based So right there I just saw, there's where the master link is. So now I'm just going to circulate it here. And then you want to let the wax sit for, overnight until you ride the next day. And this will get the wax inside the rollers. Just like so. All right, so let's put the front wheel on first. Oh, the last thing, I don't have disc brakes, I have caliper brakes, and this is a good time just to inspect to see if there's any metal or anything that's rough on the surface of your brake pads, and to check the wear. These things last a long time, so it's not something you're always concerned with. So let's replace the tire. So gator skins are about as tough as they sound. So I'm going to use a tire lever to get the tire off. It's possible to just not use a tire lever and use your hands, but the trick is to try to get the tire fully deflated and then get the tire in the middle of the rim. And that way it's easier to get off. So I'm going to squeeze it and then push the tire down into one particular side. And that way there's a little more room to work with. So I'm going to get the tire lever, get it off the rim, and then try to pry it. There we go. Pry it off like so. I'm going to take the tire off. Now this is not something you'll do all the time, but when you should have done is when you wish you did it. Just take your finger and run it along the inside of the rim to make sure nothing like what's called a spoke nipple is getting loose and protruding or anything, or make sure the tape is good. It just takes a second to do, but sometimes people will have flats because of that. So just keep an eye out for that.
Spoke nipple. He said
nipple.
spoke nipple.
Okay, so this is the new tire, and let me show you the difference between the tread of a new tire and the old one. Well, we're going to find the tire wear indicator here. Let's see if we can find it. So I'll show you the difference. First of all, if you just look at the difference on the tread, how much wear is on the one on this side here versus this side, and the tire wear indicator on this one. So you see the rip in the tire right there. Well, right next to it is the hole. That hole right there is the same as that one. So you could see the difference, and so that's a good little thing if you don't know if your tire needs to be replaced. And then just this is something that you normally wouldn't do, but just for fun, you can actually just kind of feel right here how much thickness is of the rubber. And actually this, it almost feels like there's a piece of beef jerky in there on the new one. And this one feels like a very thin, unhealthy skin. So that's the only way I know how to describe it. And these have a directionality. Is that a word? The direction it's supposed to go. So there's also a thing that tells you which way it's supposed to rotate. And so we're rotating in this direction. I'm going to put the tire on first, and then, as most people know, you want to put all the information near the valve so that you can sometimes pick up where a flat is coming from if you're not certain, you're having trouble finding where the flat is. Just use it as a good reference point. Okay. So this is a brand new tire, so the rubber is going to be very, very stiff. So I'm going to start with my fingers, getting the tire on and trying very carefully not to pinch the actual tube. So now is when it becomes a little more difficult with these tires. As you get to the end, I'll show you a little trick that I've tried. And right when you get to close to the end, what you're going to do is you're going to come back up and squeeze up here and push it into the tire so that it's really deep inside the rim. And you're going to push it down and push it down. And if it gives you just a couple millimeters extra room to work with, then that's good. So now the hard part is not pinching the tube. So I'm going to start over here, get it nice and close, get it nice and close, and right there now's the challenging part. And so we're going to use a tire lever to get this last piece over the rim. Should somewhat pop over. There you go, and that's how it's done. And lastly, at that last point, just make sure that the tube is not between the rim and the tire, because that will create a flat, and that's very frustrating. So when I get a tire on, I just want to make sure it's seated into the rim real well. So I'm just going to look at the sidewall, make sure there's no weird bulging on the outside of the sidewall, and it looks pretty good. So let's put the wheel back on. So there you go. That's how you do a bird bath for your bike to keep it nice and clean and inspect it for safety. If you have any questions, ask in the comment section down below. And if you like my videos, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions at all, you can ask in the comment section down below. And if you want these products like these tires and the thing right here to help you to clean your bike, it's in the description down below. There's links there. Again, I'm an Amazon affiliate, so we do get a small commission.